The track and field teams head to the Indoor Atlantic 10 Championships, while the swimming and diving teams do the same in Geneva, Ohio. Hello, I'm Anna Gomez.
And I'm Jake Smolinski. The lacrosse team hits a wall against Delaware while baseball continues to maintain its momentum in this young season. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine. Welcome. Jake and Anna here with you on this episode. We have a special one for you this time, and Brandon Rigney and Cody Barr present a look into the life of LaSalle runner Becca Scarletti and her struggle with an eating disorder.
Later, STP host Tyler Harper joins us to give you some exploring headlines, followed by marquee matchup with Mickey Kelly. But first, let's catch up on what went down this past week for our athletes. The men's track and field team competed in the Atlantic 10 Championship meet this past weekend in Rhode Island. Vince Perozzi had the strongest finish for the Explorers, finishing second in the 3,000-meter run. His time of 8 minutes and 28 seconds won him a spot in the ECAC Championship meet. Coming in 10 seconds later was David Ozorowski, placing 10th with a time of 8 minutes and 38 seconds. Nico Greco competed in the 5K, earning 8th place with an impressive 14 minutes and 56 seconds. The distance medley relay team also did well, capturing a 3rd place finish with a time of 10 minutes and 3 seconds. For mid-distance, Chris Trimble and John Pujols came in 5th and 6th place, respectively. Other runners who qualified for the ECAC Championships will compete in Boston next weekend.
And this past weekend, women's track and field faced tough opponents at the Indoor Atlantic 10 Championships. Senior Kaylee Solano placed 4th in the 1,000-meter finals after taking the top spot and breaking her personal record during the preliminaries. In the 300-meter final, Morgan Zeckley blazed past 30 other runners, placing 2nd. The freshman ran her career best in the event with a time of 9 minutes and 39 seconds. Taylor Hackett also contributed to the 3,000-meter, pacing the Explorers for a 17th place finish. Another senior breaking her record this weekend was Molly Mickle, who toppled her previous record by placing 8th in the 5,000-meter dash. Despite not qualifying for the finals, if Tyler broke her previous record in the 800-meter, Tyler has been steadily improving all season in the event. In the distance medley, the team of Solano, Zeckley, Hackett, and Tyler placed 2nd with a time of 11 minutes and 52 seconds. The women overall took 11th out of 13 in the event. Next week, the women head back to George Mason for one of the last indoor events of the season.
The men's swimming and dive team headed to the Sprite Institute in Geneva, Ohio for the Atlantic 10 Championships beginning February 18th and finishing the 21st. Between the 8 teams competing, the Explorers finished 4th, with the University of Massachusetts taking home 1st. Junior Johan Roth set a record for the A10 conference meet in the 200-yard breaststroke, finishing with a time of 1 minute and 57.12 seconds. Roth erased a 14-year-old record. Sophomore Cameron Fadley saw success himself, setting a new record in the 100-yard butterfly and tying another record in the 200-yard IM. He would earn silvers in both. Sophomore Matthias Glanesk also had a strong showing as he reset his own record in the 1,650-yard freestyle. His finish was at 15 minutes and 15.17 seconds, earning him 2nd place. The 400-yard medley team of Fabian Bergman, Roth, Fadley, and Justin Hughes broke the school record by 2 seconds and earned silver with a time of 3 minutes and 16.29 seconds. For the divers, junior CJ Gimple scored 269.60 to share silver with another diver.
And the women's swim and dive team, they faced mixed results in Geneva themselves. The Explorers had previously toppled to UPenn back at the Kirk Bowl for the regular season meet. And to avenge this loss with a performance that can possibly be deemed as legendary, freshman Emma Smith topped her incredible season off with a gold medal in the 1,650-yard freestyle. The Ontario native finished a full 3 seconds ahead of her competitors. Sadly, this would be the only gold that LaSalle would see. Other highlights included Kelsey Jenkinson with a 9th place finish in the 200-yard breaststroke and Sarah Finn placing 15th in the 100-yard freestyle. Not exactly the best showing for the Explorers, but Emma Smith will definitely continue to be a terrifying leader in the A10s. And I've just been tracking the swim team, and I'm kind of disappointed with how the A10s turned out this year. But it was just rough, you know. Yeah,
it was rough for the track team too. I know the with an indoor meet, it's difficult for our outdoor track players. So it's tough.
Yeah. Perfect.
Right. And the women's lacrosse team also faced off against Delaware Blue Hens on Wednesday, February 25th at McCarthy Stadium. The Explorers could not handle Delaware's high-powered offense, losing 24-6. Blue Hens midfielder Caitlin McCartney scored 4 goals in the first half and finished with 7 goals for the entire game. There were also some bright spots for the Explorers, however. Sophomore Ali Ilgenfritz recorded a hat trick in the game by scoring the first 3 goals for LaSalle. Also, senior Kelly Furman, junior Katie Fonte, and freshman Brittany Edwards also scored 1 each in the contest. Sophomore goaltender Gabby Antonelli made 7 saves in the loss, while rookie Lucy Laughlin scored 3 shots in her first collegiate game. The lacrosse team will look to bounce back as they travel to Florida to face Jacksonville University on Wednesday, March 4th.
And LaSalle baseball took the field in North Charleston, South Carolina on a 4-game road trip. The long weekend began on Friday the 20th against Charleston Southern University in the first of a 3-game series. The Explorers were held to only 6 hits, 2 of them from the bat of senior catcher Ryan Welling. Jared Matera pitched the 4-0 loss, giving up 2 earned runs in 3 innings. Buccaneers pitcher Andrew Tomasavich recorded 13 strikeouts in 7 innings on the mound. A doubleheader on Saturday began against the #1 ranked Virginia Cavaliers. Despite a solo home run from Mark Williams and 2 RBIs from Cameron Johnson, the Explorers were handed an 8-3 loss. LaSalle pitcher Freddie Andujar surrendered 4 earned runs in 3 innings.
LaSalle got back to action against the Charleston Southern for Game 2 that Saturday. The Explorers came out swinging strong with 8 runs over the first 4 innings. Cameron Johnson and Justin Korenblatt combined for 8 hits and 8 RBIs in the 13-11 victory. Charleston Southern scored 6 runs in the 8th, but Adam Cherry came in for relief on the mound to record the final 4 outs. LaSalle wrapped up in the weekend in a tremendous fashion on Sunday after 15 innings of play. Cameron Johnson smacked an RBI double in the top of the 15 against the Buccaneers to win the game and the series 9-8. This is the 2nd straight series win for the Explorers this season.
I am so glad to see that the Explorers are doing so much better. Like last year, it was a rough start. But you know what? We got a young team, and I think that we're gonna definitely see some good improvements. And so on February 19th, the women's basketball squad welcomed the Rhode Island Rams to Philadelphia. The 2 teams had previously met this season at RIU, where the Rams won by 1 point in overtime. This time, the Explorers made sure they came out on top victorious. The first half was competitive. Although LaSalle failed to take advantage of many opportunities, they managed to keep the game close. And after 20 minutes with the score with 24-19. The Explorers were strong in the second half, putting points on the board quickly and consistently. Back-to-back layups by Amy Griffin put the Explorers on top 37-34, and the team never looked back. As the clock wound down, the Rams tried to make a comeback, but were unable to, thanks in part to Lisa Mincer, who recorded 3 blocks in 1 minute. LaSalle picked up the win, 47-45.
Their luck would not last very long, however. The team dipped their next matchup against Dayton by a large margin, 91-49. LaSalle struggled from the tip, making just 2 field goals in the first 8 minutes of the game, allowing the Flyers to take a 17-4 lead. Dayton had 4 players score double-digit points upon shooting more than 57% of the field. The Explorers shot just over 26% from the field, led by Amy Griffin, who tallied a career-high 20 points in addition to 4 rebounds and 2 assists. Siobhan Beslow added 6 points as the women's team fell to 13-14 for the year.
And the team bounced back strong on February 25th with an impressive 66-53 win over A-10 rival St. Bonaventure. The Bonnies scored immediately after tip-off and responded just as quickly with a Jasmine Alsman layup. The Explorers would never trail off again for the rest of the game, and keeping the Bonnies scoreless for more than 8 minutes in the first half. The Explorers headed to the locker room for halftime, leading 28-18. And coming out in the second half, the Blue and Gold went on a 12-7 run to extend their lead. Down the stretch, the closest margin between the teams was 5 points, enough for LaSalle to comfortably seal the victory. Micaiah Owens led all Explorers with 20 points while also tallying 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and 1 steal.
On Sunday, February 22nd, the men's basketball team traveled to St. Louis to take on the Billikens. LaSalle started the game off strong, scoring 25 first-half points. The Explorers kept up their fast pace until the second half, leading by as much as 11 points. But the Billikens refused to go quietly. With 1 minute and 47 seconds remaining, LaSalle was leading St. Louis 56-51. However, Mike Crawford provided a clutch 3-point play for the Billikens to cut the lead to 2. However, LaSalle committed back-to-back turnovers that led to St. Louis layups, putting them up 58-56. However, for the Explorers, or luckily for the Explorers rather, Jordan Price was fouled and hit both of his free throws to send the game into overtime. In the extra period, St. Louis started strong with 5 consecutive points. LaSalle came roaring back thanks to baskets by Khalid Lewis and Steve Zack. However, that would be the Explorers' only sign of life after regulation. The Billikens hit 5 out of 6 foul shots in the final 24 seconds to clinch their 68-64 overtime victory.
And in what Dr. John Giannini called, quote, our worst game of the year, the men's basketball team fell to the Fordham Rams 63-48 this past Wednesday. And the momentum truly shifted Fordham's way at the end of the first half, where they went on an 11-2 run. This would prove to bury any momentum the Explorers had, as they would never come close to tying the game for the rest of the way. Despite Jordan Price's team leading 19 points, the Blue and Gold's offense was ice cold, only shooting 29.5% from the field. Jarrell Wright contributed 11 points for the Explorers. And this takes us to our first break. Stay tuned. Brendan Rigney and Cody Barr will be here when you return to give you the remarkable story of LaSalle runner Becca Scardelletti. And later, Tyler Harper will be joining us for Exploring Headlines. Stay tuned.
Have you ever
had someone repeatedly put their hands on you even though you were saying no?
been threatened into an unwanted sexual activity? Each year, there are almost 300,000 victims of sexual assault,
Unwanted touching,
attempted rape, and committed rape
and even receiving sexually threatening messages.
are all forms of sexual assault. Anyone can be a victim
No matter the age, gender, or ethnicity, take a stand.
against sexual assault.
Welcome back. We have a special edition of On the Sidelines on this episode. Brendan Rigney and Cody Barr bring you their story.
Thanks, guys. Our show is dedicated to covering LaSalle athletes and their triumphs and struggles. This week, we're taking an in-depth look at an issue that affects athletes across the country.
1/3 of Division I female athletes report attitudes and symptoms placing them at risk for an eating disorder. With the stress of being an athlete, food is one thing that is completely controllable.
We had the opportunity to get to know someone on LaSalle's campus that was brave enough to speak out about her tumultuous relationship with food.
Becca Scardelletti of the women's cross-country team.
Ever since I can remember, I've always had an interesting relationship with food. It was something that I was always conscious about. Even like I remember when I was 10 being like, oh, I don't know if I should eat that. I was a soccer player when I was younger, so I was always trying to stay fit and active. And but then it really spiraled in high school, like the college applications.
Right.
I was like the star runner of my high school, so the pressure with that really got to me. So I figured that this was my only way of controlling something I couldn't control.
And so that's how it began. When you got to LaSalle, how did you feel when you got to LaSalle? I mean, you said you went through all this for applications and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So when you finally got to a place that you've been trying so hard for while dealing with something like that, how did you feel?
Well, when I first came to LaSalle, I was so entrenched in my disorder that a good way to describe it was I felt numb.
No.
Like I didn't have any feelings. I never felt happy, sad. I just didn't feel. My goal was to just run. I didn't have many relationships with friends when I first came here because they were kind of just like, oh, like that girl, she doesn't really eat. So I lost all of the social aspect of going to dinner and stuff like that. So it really wasn't until Coach Ireland told me that I was not allowed to run for the team because I was underweight that I kind of woke up. Like, all right, you know what, maybe it's time to get out of this.
So it was Coach Ireland's, I guess, not maybe intervention isn't the correct word, but his reaching out
Yeah.
that really helped you realize that you might, you're struggling with this.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, I did go to a bunch of therapy. I remember I just tore my parents apart with this whole thing, and I didn't want to disappoint them. But when Ireland was like, hey, you can't run, that was kind of hit me well, this is why I'm doing this. I'm here to be a good runner, and if I can't run, then what's the point? I mean, my freshman year, I had a lot of injuries. because I was so thin. So now, like, I've improved my times by 30 seconds. So stuff like that, and like I did really well at A10s this year. I got Most Improved award by my coach a few years ago, so that was really exciting. So it's definitely been an improvement.
You know, you were going through, you were putting yourself through this mess for this
Right.
one thing, and now you don't have that.
Yeah.
So I guess he helped you put that really into
Yeah.
perspective.
And another thing, it wasn't just for myself, but it was also for the team too. Like, I didn't want to be a bad example for them
Right.
as well, and he was looking out for them, and Coach Peterson was as well. So just both of them together really kind of sat me down and were like, hey, look, like this isn't worth it.
Now, you mentioned before that the social aspects of your team kind of fell by the wayside.
Right.
Now, were you hiding it from them, or was it just out in the open? I mean, was it difficult to hide?
No, I was very proud of it.
Very proud of it. Okay.
Which is kind of embarrassing to say because like it's not something that you should be proud
Right,
of
yeah.
at all. But I wouldn't brag about it, but I'd kind of be like, if I was the thinnest one in the room, then I had won. Like that was my own personal battle. So like I never went to dinner with them. I never got to travel with them because I wasn't running at the time. And I was in bed at 9:30 every night, so I could get up at 6 o'clock and go for my run on my own. So I didn't really have time for social aspects. Like when they invited me into the city because we're trying to get to know each other, I was like, no, because I don't know where we're going to eat. So I don't want to have to deal with that. So that was really hard.
Now, for Coach Ireland sat you down and said you can't run.
Yeah.
and this kind of just was, as you kind of said, your wake-up call.
Right.
Now, when you were coming to terms with it and when you decided to start helping yourself, how did running fit into that?
Well, it actually took me a while. Like at first, Ireland was like, you can't run. I was like, okay, like I can cheat the system. So like I would go to student health every day and get weighed. So I would like drink gallons of water, like stuff my clothing to see if I could get the scale up. So like try to trick everybody, but that obviously did not work. They're like, no, like you can't run still. So that was kind of like my wake up call was like, all right, well, this isn't working. The other thing wasn't working. So maybe if I just gained a few more pounds, it'll be okay. And once I did that, everything was a lot better.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like, wow, that's actually pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
it was really a struggle to do because,
Yeah.
like I said, it was like this disease is kind of like an addiction.
Yeah.
I was addicted to the weight loss. So once I like got over that addiction, it like just clicked.
Now, this was something you were arguably forced to come to terms with. Were you alone in this after you came to terms with that and decided to help yourself? Did you have a support system?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I had the greatest support system I could ever imagine. I mean, my parents and my sister are absolutely incredible people, and they really helped me along. But also, you know, even though I wasn't very sociable, my teammates and my friends were really there for me. And like they tried to get me through it, and like I would sit down and with them and we would be eating like desserts and everything, and they would be like, why just can't you have some? And like that was enough support for me. And also my other coach, Tina Muir, was really supportive. She would like take me out to lunch sometimes and just for fun, just like talk about things, and she really got me through this rough time.
How, both in regards to yourself and with the rest of your team and your support system, how are you now? Are you confident? Would you say is
Yeah.
confident a good word?
Yeah, I mean, if you had told me I would be sitting here with you like 2 years ago, I would have laughed and been like, no, I'm gonna be like this forever. Like, that's not, even my mom was like, oh, do you think when you get better, like you'll reach out? And I was like, I'm never gonna be better. So to sit here now and talk about this is kind of a big step for me. I never thought I would be here, but it's really been a long way, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not something I still don't think about every day. It's still a struggle to make a meal and not feel guilty about it, but the rational part of me realizes how important it is.
So it's an ongoing battle with this
Yeah.
addiction, as you called it.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I know me and my boyfriend will go out to eat sometimes, and I'll be like, oh, I don't know what I should order. But it's like, you know what, you're here to have fun, you're here to be nutritious, like you might as well just enjoy yourself.
That's pretty fantastic, Becca. I'm happy that I'm here and present for this triumph, because as you said, 2 years ago you wouldn't have thought to be in a
Not at
position
all.
like this, you know. So you said you're still struggling with it, but when you look back to as you said 2 years ago,
Right.
is it difficult to remember, or do you embrace it and respect that you went through that and use that?
That's a good question. I'm actually certainly not proud of the lies that I came up with or like the food that I wasted, but I have to thank the Rebecca that was 2 years ago, because I wouldn't be the Rebecca I am today if it wasn't for her. So I learned a lot from her.
Now, if you were to compare yourself in that situation, and we talked about how you feel now, you feel confident.
Right.
How else are you feeling? You feel stronger?
Oh, yeah.
You're always smiling. I mean, you've been smiling ever since we sat down.
Well, that's something, like, I never smiled 2 years ago when I was going through this. And it's funny because, like, my boss actually said to me, I used to work at an ice cream place back at home, and he was like, you know, I haven't seen you smile this much in a very long time. Like, you're such a different person now. And I was like, oh, like, hearing that was so great, because, like, I really reached that point where I'm back to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel really strong. Like, I changed my major actually, so it's kind of like a new direction for me. I was nutrition, ironically, but I figured it would be better if I got out of that kind of world.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm in education, so I'm really confident in schooling, and like I said, I have this great boyfriend, and running is going really well, so everything is really tipping off for me now.
So
I
you
hope
just
it
feel like
stays that way.
you turned everything around. It's
Yeah.
the complete 180, and
Yeah.
now, I mean, I hate using this expression, the world is your oyster. I hate oysters. I don't know
As
why
do
I use it all
I.
the time, but I just...
No, and it's like I lost so much time when I was sick, so now I feel like I have to make up for it. There's so much to
Well,
see out there.
I think you're doing that. I mean, I think
thank
you're doing
you.
that just fine right now. So
Thank you.
yeah. Do you have anything to say to those runners or even non-athletes that are struggling through something similar?
Yeah,
to yours?
absolutely. It's definitely a battle that's in your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could give anybody any advice, I would just say it's so not worth it. It is just so not worth it. Like, fitting into a size 00 is not going to make you a better person. And it's also, you're not going to be, good for your body. Like, if I couldn't imagine if I couldn't have kids someday, or if I was going to have a life cut short because of it, it's just really just not something that's necessary. So just try to, if you are struggling with this, try to get the help you need. I mean, I will always reach out to anybody, but also, it's not going to make you faster. It's not going to make you a better person. So just try to keep, your priorities straight.
If you or anyone you know is struggling with an eating disorder, please deeply consider getting professional help.
National Eating Disorder Awareness offers a free confidential hotline that could save you or a loved one. Call 1-800-931-2237.
And remember, everyone is entitled to a happy and healthy life.
For Brendan and me, thank you.
And thank you, Brendan and Cody.
Now joining us for Exploring Headlines, please welcome Sports Talk Philadelphia's Tyler Harper.
Thank you, Anna. Let's get to it. As the baseball team begins its season with high hopes, players continue to accumulate individual awards. Outfielder Cameron Johnson has been named A10 and Big 5 Player of the Week. Batting at .450, the senior tallied 8 runs in 4 games and went 4 for 5 against Charleston South. Johnson's performance has helped LaSalle take 2 wins out of 3 against the Bucks, making this their second straight series win. The A10 wasn't done in honoring LaSalle athletics, naming women basketball's Amy Griffin its Rookie of the Week. The freshman averaged 16 points per game in 2 games against Rhode Island and Dayton, in which she tied her career high of 20 points. Griffin leads all freshmen on the team and has scored double-digit points in 4 games. The rookie is 3rd overall in points per game on the team with 8. A few weeks ago, SportsLine reported on 4 men's soccer alums that were finding work on the field after graduation. We're pleased to update that former goalkeeper John McCarthy has been signed by the Philadelphia Union. The class of 2014 graduate has had quite the resume from his days as an Explorer, holding the program records in saves and shutouts. After he left LaSalle, McCarthy spent time with the Rochester Rhinos, earning Rookie of the Year and Goalkeeper of the Year honors. The Union began their own season on March 7th.
Thanks for joining us, Tyler.
Thank you, Jay.
Yep. And now that we've covered the past, let's look to the future. Mickey Kelly brings us this week's marquee matchup. Check it out.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of Marquee Matchup. I'm Mickey Kelly. With baseball season in full swing, the men's team will travel to Nashville, Tennessee to take on the Lipscomb Bisons. The men are coming off an impressive series win over Charleston Southern, which included a 15-inning thriller with the Explorers winning 9-8 this past Sunday. The Bisons are coming off a last-inning defeat in the hands of the Tennessee Volunteers, which included costly mistakes in the ninth, leading to their loss. As the Explorers hope to extend their winning streak, they will look to two players to step up to the plate during this weekend series. First is senior Cameron Johnson. He is no stranger to the South, as he is a Kentucky native. Johnson transferred to LaSalle in the summer of 2013 from Lackawanna Junior College and has been a key player on the team ever since. Just last year, he had an 11-game hitting streak, boasting a team best. He was also a key factor in the Explorers' win over Charleston Southern last weekend, scoring a total of 6 runs batted in. Johnson currently leads the team with a batting average of .469 and a slugging average of .645, scoring 12 runs so far this season. The second player for this weekend series is the Explorers pitcher, junior Joey Rayford. He currently has an impressive earned run average of .90. He leads the team in strikeouts with 7 and innings pitched with 10. Now that we covered our athletes of the week, here are the keys to the series. Limiting errors. Last weekend, the men committed 8 errors total. They must minimize on committing errors and play smart baseball. Patience. Patience is the key to this weekend series, especially at the plate. The men must be ready for the right pitch and also to capitalize on any mistakes made by the opponent. All they have to do is wait for the right pitch, and that ball will soar past the outfield. Score, score, score. The men must be ready to knock in runs when someone is in scoring position. Don't be shy about running up the scoreboard every inning. You can catch more highlights on the men's team on GoExplorers.com. For this week's Marquee Matchup, I'm Mickey Kelly. Batter up, Explorers.
Well, that just about wraps it up for this week. If you can't make it out to see the Marquee Matchup, make sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Be sure to keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by following us on Twitter at SportsLine LTV. We post game updates and sneak peeks into the upcoming show.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions about the show on either website.
For Tyler, Brendan, and our entire SportsLine team, I'm Anna Gomez.
And I'm Jake Smolinski. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the game.